I love the old guy. He's the only one I've ever wanted and the only one I'll ever have, I'm sure.
And the well wishes for the loss of Carl. You know how I loved him, and he would want me to be working today. I expect to be.
Millions chase fame and love, but few capture both like Dolly Parton, a timeless icon whose talent and warmth have enchanted generations. For over 5 decades, her soaring career and seemingly storybook marriage to the elusive Carl Dean stood as a rare beacon of Hollywood success. But now that flawless image has fractured, Dolly has unveiled a startling revelation about her famously private husband. And it's not the fairy tale we thought we knew. What has the Queen of Country kept hidden all these years? And how does this revelation redefine her legendary legacy? Stay tuned to discover the surprising truth behind one of entertainment's most enduring romances.
He's a good guy, and we have a great understanding of each other. We're great friends. Now, he's a very complex, involved person. I never get tired of him.
The Golden Illusion. Dolly Parton has just shattered a long-held illusion about her marriage to Carl Dean, the man she's been with for nearly 60 years. What she revealed isn't the fairy tale fans have believed for decades. Their love story had always been painted as a rare, unshakable bond that stood strong against the glare of fame. Dolly sparkled on stage and screen, while Carl stayed hidden in the quiet shadows of their Tennessee farm, the silent, supportive partner in their legend. Audiences adored it, the glittering star and her grounded recluse thriving where so many others fell. But now, with a quiet admission, it's not all good. Dolly has cracked the golden facade, and fans are beginning to wonder, was this storybook marriage ever real, or just a beautifully curated illusion? From the beginning, Dolly's world was one of spectacle, big hair, bigger hits, and a magnetic charm that made her a global icon. By the 80s and 90s, she was untouchable, churning out hits like Jolene and 9 to 5, lighting up talk shows, commanding box offices, and selling out arenas. Through it all, she'd beam about Carl. He's my rock. Their Brentwood farm became symbolic, a peaceful retreat where she could trade red carpets for creekside serenity. The media ate it up, a love story untouched by scandal. But was that golden glow genuine, or just another layer of polish hiding deeper cracks? Carl Dean became the mythic opposite of Dolly's fame. He refused the spotlight, skipped public appearances, and let her shine solo. He hates the fuss, she'd say with a laugh whenever reporters asked about his absence. She'd mention sweet notes he'd leave in her suitcase, paint tender scenes of moonlit dances by the barn. Fans swooned at the thought of a love too pure for Hollywood. Their 25th anniversary in 1991 was celebrated as a triumph. "We're a team," she said. Yet his persistent silence raised questions. Was he her foundation or just a blank canvas for the fantasy? Their differences fueled the narrative. Dolly, a wildfire of energy, adored the spotlight, thrived on chaos, playfully flirting on stage and lighting up every room she entered. Carl, in her words, preferred quiet solitude, working on the land, away from the noise. She jet-set across the globe while he stayed home, sometimes not even answering her calls. Opposites attract, she'd smile, and the world believed it. Friends called it balance, her fire, his calm, a match that set but didn't break. But was it truly flexible or simply strained to the brink? Dolly masterfully kept the image intact. Anecdotes about Carl cooking her breakfast or slow dancing in the moonlight painted a picture of romance frozen in time. Her 2001 memoir, Dolly, My Life and Other Unfinished Business, doubled down on the quirks that made them just work. "He's my fan from afar," she'd joke. Their 50th wedding anniversary in 2016, a vow renewal complete with a white dress and a rare photo of Carl, was presented as proof of enduring love. "We've made it," she declared. But behind that dazzling smile was something being held back. Despite the rosy image, cracks were always there, if you looked closely. Dolly's life moved at lightning speed, constant touring, filming, business deals, a relentless pace that left little room for pause. Carl stayed put, the immovable rock in her whirlwind. She often described him as okay with me being gone, brushing off the emotional distance. Yet those close to her noticed her tone would shift when he came up. The smile stayed, but the light behind it dimmed just a little. Was this space a sign of freedom, or of something unspoken? Money added tension to the mix. Dolly, now worth hundreds of millions, was generous, buying wigs, gowns, giving to causes. Carl, on the other hand, stayed frugal, reportedly grumbling at the price of a new truck. "He keeps me grounded," she'd say. But friends noticed the friction. "We don't fight about money," she insisted, but the lines felt rehearsed. Was this financial dance a harmless difference, or a deeper divide she chose not to reveal? Even her music hinted at the truth behind the myth. Songs like I Will Always Love You and Love Is Like a Butterfly felt like love letters to Carl and me, and fans embraced the fantasy. Dolly didn't confirm or deny, letting listeners dream, but darker tracks, like Hard Candy Christmas, hinted at hidden sorrow. Just stories, she'd say with a wink, but was she masking pain in melody? Their choice not to have children added another layer to their story. Dolly once imagined the sound of children on their farm, but later explained that her path led elsewhere. Carl remained silent as always. Instead, they filled their lives with pets and fans, their extended family. We're complete, she'd say, ever the optimist. But was that completeness real, or a carefully chosen narrative to ease the ache?
We have our little RV. We go out every single weekend. We travel all over, especially all over Tennessee and all these back roads. We have picnics. We have a little place out the lake. We spend a lot of time.
Behind the glitter, Dolly Parton and Carl Dean's marriage vase shimmered like one of her rhinestone gowns, dazzling to the world, yet stitched with quiet tension beneath. For years, Dolly cast Carl as her anchor, the calm beneath her whirlwind, the solid ground under her soaring career. He remained in the background, content in his anonymity while she lit up stages and screens. Their story became the stuff of legend, a flamboyant superstar and her invisible husband weathering fame's storms hand in hand. But behind the picture-perfect image and the peace of their Tennessee farm, cracks ran deeper than fans ever imagined. Their love wasn't always storybook. Behind the curtains were clashing lives, widening gaps, and unspoken questions. Was their bond as golden as it seemed, or just burnished for show? From the very start, their paths ran side by side but rarely crossed. After their secret 1966 wedding, Dolly's star skyrocketed. She was whisked from studio sessions to late-night sets, from London to LA, becoming a global icon. Meanwhile, Carl dug in at home, loyal to his paving business and the solitude of Brentwood. While she chased dreams in rhinestones and high heels, he stuck to dirt roads and quiet routines. She invited him into her world, but he recoiled. His one red carpet appearance early in their marriage was also his last. "I ain't made for this," he muttered, and stayed away for good. Dolly spun it with a smile. He's happy at home, but the truth may have cut deeper. Did he truly want no part of her world? Or did she hide how much that refusal hurt? Their differences weren't just surface level. They were etched into the bone. Dolly thrived on being seen. She lived for the sparkle of sequins and the buzz of a crowd. Carl preferred the quiet hum of a lawnmower and the peace of a starless night. Where she radiated energy, he conserved it. Over time, his retreat stopped being a quirk and began to feel like a wall. She kept reaching, with jokes, dances in the barn, homemade biscuits, but he pulled further inward. He needs space, she'd say, but was that space freedom or absence? Money didn't bridge the gap either, but widened it. By the 80s, Dolly's fortune had exploded. She was a self-made mogul with hits, movies, and even her own theme park. She loved the glam, the wigs, the gowns, the sparkle. Carl, ever the minimalist, scoffed at her spending. Where she saw success, he saw excess. "He keeps me grounded," she joked, but friends saw the eye rolls and the tension behind closed doors. Then came the issue of children, or rather, the lack of them. Dolly once dreamed aloud of a house filled with little ones. Carl did too in those early hopeful years. They picked out names, imagined a legacy beyond music or asphalt. But her career swallowed time and parenthood slipped further away. "I couldn't bear to leave them behind," she said, pinning the decision on her schedule. Carl nodded in public, but behind his eyes lived something else: disappointment, maybe even grief. They filled the silence with pets and projects, but some absences bark louder than any dog. As fame grew, so did the distance. Dolly's calendar brimmed with red carpets, charity galas, and curtain calls. When she returned home, weary and yearning, she found a man even more closed off. Carl had built a world without her, routines she no longer fit into. He stopped answering calls, skipped her shows, and let the silence swell. "He's my rock," she told the media, but close friends knew she struggled. "I don't know what he's thinking anymore," she admitted to one. Was Carl shutting her out, or had she already left without realizing it? In public, she kept the illusion alive. She told stories of love notes tucked in suitcases and secret picnics by the creek. Fans clung to the fairy tale, but those close to her saw what the cameras didn't. The missed calls, the one-word replies, the weight she carried alone. They'd go days without speaking, recalled a crew member on tour. She'd put down the phone, put on the smile, and perform like nothing was wrong. Was she protecting Carl? or preserving a version of herself the world needed to believe in. By the 90s, the divide was clear. Dolly's empire expanded: books, beauty lines, films. Carl's world narrowed to the farm. She said he was her biggest fan, but he hadn't seen her on stage in years. Her laughter, once robust, now rang hollow when she explained his absence. Friends whispered. Was she holding this marriage up alone? Their 50th anniversary in 2016 painted a pretty picture. She in her white gown, radiant as ever. He, stiff and silent beside her. We've made it, she beamed, but was it celebration or salvage? The vow renewal felt like a curtain call, not a fresh act. Something long buried was starting to surface. A weight she had carried for decades, now too heavy to hide. What was Carl shielding in his silence? And why, after all these years, is Dolly finally letting the truth slip out? The breaking point. At a glance, Dolly Parton and Carl Dean's marriage gleamed like a Grammy. Bright, polished, and untouchable. But as the new millennium dawned, that shimmer dulled. The once manageable cracks in their relationship widened into gaping chasms. Too deep, too raw, too real to hide behind their farm's whitewashed fences. What began as endearing quirks and harmless distance hardened into resentment, silence, and secrets. Dolly smiled for the cameras, the queen of country still shining. But behind closed doors, the weight of a love unravelling pulled heavier with each passing year. How did a romance that promised forever begin to collapse? And what truth did Dolly finally allow to surface? 2000s brought fresh turbulence. Dolly's career surged with a second wind, world tours, Broadway ventures, even a hit Netflix series. Her voice, still unmistakable, echoed from concert halls to streaming screens. Meanwhile, Carl burrowed deeper into solitude, barely leaving their Brentwood property. The phone calls that once bridged their time apart grew clipped. Her cheerful stories of tour life were met with grunts. He's fine, she'd tell friends, voice trembling behind her trademark laugh. But when she returned home, worn and hopeful, he met her with a cold nod, distant, unreachable. You feel like a stranger, she snapped during one bitter argument, a moment overheard by a longtime housekeeper. Was he angry or simply absent? Then came the mistrust. For decades, rumours had swirled around Dolly's chemistry with duet partners, Kenny Rogers, Burt Reynolds, and others. While they'd always laughed them off, something changed. Carl, once quiet, grew snide. Who's your duet guy this week? He'd mutter, sarcasm dripping. She'd smile through it publicly. He's just being funny. But inside, it stung. In 2010, when tabloids alleged an affair with a producer, Dolly vehemently denied it. Carl said nothing. His silence said everything. He wouldn't even look at me for days, she later confided to a cousin. Did he believe the rumours, or was his silence a verdict? Their fights over money got uglier too. Dolly's empire soared into hundreds of millions by the 2010s, while Carl stuck to frugality like gospel. She poured her fortune into causes close to her heart, especially her beloved Imagination Library, gifting millions. Carl scoffed. Another tax write-off, he'd sneer. It's my money too, she snapped more than once. Their sanctuary, their farm, turned into a war zone. She wanted renovations. He resisted even basic repairs. He'd rather smear tar on a leak than let me hire a crew, she fumed to her stylist. Was it about money, or was he simply done investing in them? Loneliness closed in. Despite her fame, Dolly felt increasingly isolated. She was adored by millions, but known by few. Coming home, she longed for connection. Instead, she found Carl staring off at the hills, whiskey glass sweating beside him. She'd dance to old records, cook his mother's recipes, try everything to reach him. I'm tired, doll, and he'd mumble, disappearing into silence. By the mid-2010s, she stopped trying. On visits home, she took to sleeping in a guest room. We're just roommates, were he? She whispered tearfully to a friend. Was he shutting her out, or had she surrendered? The fights grew darker. When the pandemic hit in 2020, lockdown trapped them in close quarters with no escape. Conversations turned into clashes. Carl's drinking, once casual, spiraled. Whiskey bottles collected in the shed. His words slurred, his thoughts bitter. Wasted years, he muttered more than once. She pleaded with him to stop. You're drowning, she whispered. Leave me be, he barked, stumbling away. She poured herself into work, but the ache remained. Was he bearing pain, or had she driven him to it? Then, without ceremony, it ended. On March 3rd, 2025, Carl Dean died at 82 from heart failure. The official report was clinical, but those closest knew. He'd given up. A body broke, yes, but a spirit too. Now, Dolly wanders through the aftermath. The house is too quiet. No Carl, no conflict. Just empty space and lingering ghosts. Her once busy life has slowed to a crawl, the wigs gather dust. The piano sits untouched. "I don't know who I am without him," she confessed to a reporter, the sparkle gone from her voice. Her career, once a source of joy, now feels hollow. Why bother? She shrugs when asked about performing again. The Dolly Parton we knew, the radiant, witty, unstoppable force, has dimmed. Fame means little now. Love feels like a wound. She's not the bubbly blonde the world fell for. She's a grieving widow haunted by a love story she may never have fully understood. Carl took his silence with him, and the secrets he never shared. Infidelity? Regret? Resentment too old to name? She doesn't know, but in his absence the questions only grow louder. So what's your take on Dolly and Carl's relationship? Was it a quiet, lasting love, or a troubled bond hidden behind the spotlight? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more deep dives like this, and click on the next video on your screen. We think you'll love it.